Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January 21 Sound Festival weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got 4 days of fantastic new music to share with you. We've got 4 performances today, one later at 3 o'clock, one at 5, and one at 8 o'clock in the evening. We're not able to put out live content this weekend, with the exception of one very special event on Saturday, but everything has been pre-recorded to comply with public health guidelines. And I'd like to thank all the artists for their support and work in creating this content for you to watch. You can watch all of this content for free, but we do have indicative ticket prices, which start at £5 for a single event. You'll be able to pay by hitting the link at the bottom of the event page if you're on our website or in the YouTube feed. Like the rest of the art sector, we're struggling with a lack of ticket income, so we'd really appreciate it if you were able to contribute. Finally, please do interact with us. We do love getting your comments and thoughts about the performances. We're missing our audiences more than we can say. At the end of the performance, we have a Q&A session with the artists. So please do post any questions in the live chat function of YouTube during the performance, and we'll incorporate them into the conversation. So, to this lunchtime's concert. Richard Watkins, one of Europe's most celebrated horn players. It's fantastic to have this recital from Richard to open this second part of the Sound Festival 2020. We asked Richard to put together this recital, not at the last minute, but a couple of weeks ago when one of the performances that we were going to have, the Gaia duo, we needed to postpone that concert. So it's great to be opening this festival with a solo horn recital. The horn is our endangered instrument theme for this festival. And to have Richard doing this is just incredible. So we have a pre-recorded performance by Richard that lasts around 42 minutes. And after that, please do join us for a Q&A session. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this performance by Richard Watkins.
That was Benjamin Britten's prologue to his famous Serenade for tenor, horn and strings, perhaps the most well-known of all solo horn pieces. It's probably the granddaddy of them all. I would just like to try and give you an idea of some of the variety of music written for solo horn, and perhaps show you some contemporary music, some of which is more accessible than others. And the next piece I'm going to play is by the Norwegian composer Johan Kvandal. It's called Salmetone, which actually means a hymn tune. But we could perhaps think of the horn in its sort of Norwegian setting, scenery, with perhaps blowing across the fjords. It's a very, very evocative, a very simple little piece, but very beautifully written, and it shows off the very lyrical side of the horn. So, hymn tune or Salmetone by Johann Kvandal. Solo horn literature, of course, is littered with many, many challenging, virtuosic pieces, possibly some of which go to perhaps just trying to be virtuosic for the sake of it, perhaps jumping through the hoops of trying to find all the everything that the horn can possibly try and do. That tends to be a kind of almost like a sort of an Olympic challenge, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course, at all. I'm always on the lookout for interesting new pieces. And I was playing in Ireland some years ago, and I played there many, many years regularly with Barry Douglas's festival in the Clandeboy Festival. But I was looking for a piece in Dublin Brass Week, and I wanted to try and find a contemporary Irish composer. And I came across this really lovely piece by Ian Wilson called She Passes, Passes, Passes By. And that's not to say that it's challenging, and it is very tricky, and there are a lot of very imaginative special effects and of half-stopping and blowing through the instrument, and amongst other things. But I was very struck. This is based, She Passes, She Passes, She Passes By, comes from a poem by a Portuguese poet, Fernando Pessoa. And if you allow me to read, it's a short poem. When I am sitting at the window, through the panes which the snow blurs, I see the lovely images, hers, as she passes by. Over me grief has thrown its veil, less a creature in this world, and one more angel in the sky. When I am sitting at the window, through she part the panes which the snow blurs, I think I see the image, hers, that's not now passing, not passing by. So, of course, it's very difficult to necessarily have a imagery for each particular section, but I was very struck by how thoughtful and really quite moving this piece is. It's in one continuous movement, and I think it's a highly effective and very imaginative piece. From the evocative sound world of Ian Wilson, I'm now going to play 4 Capriccios by George Vass. I've known George for a very, very long time. I think we even overlapped at the Royal Academy of Music. George is a great champion of contemporary music, running orchestras, and is the founder and director of another of the country's great contemporary festivals in Prestine. I've always enjoyed working there and seeing George, and he has a wonderful sense of humour as well. And I think this rather twinkling, mischievous character is very evident in these pieces. They were written in 1976. They're 4 very short movements: horn call, Capriccio ritmico, Siciliana lamentoso, and Capriccio precipitoso. And so finally we come to back to the Britten Serenade. We come full circle, if you like. The Britten Serenade Epilogue. Interestingly enough, Britten was fascinated by the natural harmonics, but with this caused slight consternation with audiences and critics particularly, who complained about the dedicatee, Mr. Dennis Brain, sometimes playing out of tune. And Britten was rumoured to have said that he wished he'd never written the wretched harmonics, but they do create a wonderful out-of-world atmosphere, which is so particularly evocative in the wonderful piece by the Serenade by Britten. So I hope that this has been an interesting and illuminating range of music for the solo horn. I've certainly enjoyed working and putting the programme together, and thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. That's such a fantastic performance, Richard. Wonderful to hear those pieces and such an amazing and beautifully varied program. Thank you so much for putting that together. The thing that came across to me was how there's some throughout the recital, but particularly in the Ian Wilson piece, there were some beautiful lyrical passages. And then all of a sudden you get these extended techniques, which perhaps some listeners might not be used to hearing the horn do. I wonder, perhaps, would you be able to kind of talk us through some of those techniques and how you produce them?
Sure. Particularly in Ian Wilson's piece, he was very helpful because he gave a little guided list at the beginning of the score, and this was very helpful. And he just wanted to go through some of the stop sounds. He actually or stopped or muted sounds. He didn't actually use a mute as such, but of course the horn player can actually, by covering the bell completely, you get a rather sort of nasal, quivery stopped sound, and this is something that actually contemporary composers have really thrived and jumped on. I suppose the difficulty with a mute is that you actually have to physically pick it up or move it around and put it inside the horn. So obviously that can be visually slightly distracting. So this works very well. So apart from that hand stopping effect, you can actually sort of do a halfway house, half muting as well. So he tried to exploit that perhaps in some of the lower registers where he wanted a sort of a slightly more muffled sound. And also he wanted a percussive effect by this literally is blowing through the instrument, through the mouthpiece. It gives a sort of almost like a sort of percussive effect. So this works well. I mean, a lot of composers, both in contemporary music and also in film music, love using this blowing through the air, blowing air through the horn sound.
It's like a kind of extending the vocabulary of the instrument.
Absolutely. It's always pushing the boundaries. Yes. So, I mean, composers are always looking to try and find different ways of, and as I mentioned in the, I think in the Messiaen introduction, there was that lovely half.
Yes, I was going to ask about how you produce that, because it's an amazing sound. It's almost like you're singing into the instrument and it's picking up the harmonic series as you're going through.
Exactly. Yes. It's a little bit tricky because you have to, instead of pressing the valve all the way down to create the harmonic series, you have to catch it halfway. So it's a little bit of trial and error and a bit of good luck as well. But it does actually create, it's quite faithful to Messiaen's instruction, trying to create he says, irréel, unreal sound. It's a super effect. But I was going to say that Ian Wilson and Messiaen, although they're super effective at extending the techniques and exploring different sounds, what they also both achieve is, as you mentioned, the very lyrical sound of the horn, which is really what the horn probably does best. Playing those nice singing tunes. You think of the orchestral repertoire of, even Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony, this famous horn solo, going back to its roots, if you like. So all these pieces, they're terrific at combining the best and the new effects of the instrument, really. Yeah,
I think one of the things that I've learned about listening to horn repertoire, new horn repertoire, and particularly newly commissioned pieces that we've been doing through Sound, is how the versatility of the instrument in the huge range that it has, from those really low popping sounds through to this amazingly kind of lyrical altissimo sort of register and everything in between. It's really quite stunning what you can get out of the instrument, I think.
Yes, I mean, I think the horn has the development of the instruments and the playing itself has developed hugely over the years. And actually, going back to the very first piece I played, the Britten Serenade. Of course, this was written for the great horn player Dennis Brain in the 1940s. And at the time, I mean, the repertoire was really quite thin on the ground. I understand that all horn players at the time threw their hands up in horror when they heard this piece, the Britten Serenade, and expressed sort of horror that no one would ever be able to play it apart from maybe Dennis Brain. And of course, nowadays it's played all around the world all the time by all players, and horn students study it as well.
Sure.
And the same thing happens with the Maxwell Davis Sea Eagle. At the time, everyone said no one would be crazy enough to attempt to play it. And I noticed now that it's actually one of the set pieces on one of the famous renowned Munich competition, and it's supposed to be done from memory as well. So again, how times change, and all all horn students have a look at it, and it's part of their sort of literature and repertoire now.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So it's great that all these pieces evolve, and they're here to stay in our repertoire, which is getting bigger and bigger, and more people are excited about the possibilities of writing for the horn, and long may that continue.
Sure, and I've always found it amazing that people thought that Britten Serenade, the wrong note in it. Yes. It's in fact. It's natural. That's what the horn did when it was
exactly.
And it's actually going back to the more ancient horn rather than it being a kind of modern take.
No, exactly. Those notes which Britten so effectively uses. I mean, they're the natural harmonics, and they're as you go up the harmonic series of the horn, there are more and more notes which have this sort of lovely sort of out of the world effect.
Yeah.
I was resisting the using the word out of tune.
I know.
They're just unique in their own right, and wonderful that Britain was rose to that challenge. And yes,
it's funny how we've sanitized things in a way.
Yes.
Back to it seems out of the ordinary. But Richard, a few comments from the audience, and please do feel free to ask questions as well. But Sarah Watts has said, fabulous performance, great repertoire, love Sea Eagle, and also love Ian Wilson's music. Really wonderful work. Thank you, Sarah. And Ruta Vitkaskaita, quite amazed by the range of the horn. Thank you for this fantastic concert. Also got a comment from Marvin the Exile. Both Messiaen and Maxwell Davies are especially evocative of their subjects. The horn really is a wonderful instrument for such effects. I think that's absolutely true, isn't it? What we've been saying.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I love the story about Max and the Sea Eagle, and him looking out of his front door at this. He had not previous. It came afterwards. The issue with the swan, of course. He does seem to think of these large birds as potential meals, and does get him into trouble every now and then. For those that are unaware of the swan story, he was. Max had found a swan had flown into his power lines outside his house, I think, and died.
So I believe, yes.
And he thought the best thing to do would be to make a nice pate out of it, which seems evidently sensible. But the police came round and had a discussion, I believe, because I think the Queen owns all the swans. Or
it was on some royal decree, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
But as you say, he always loved to court controversy, I think, a little bit.
Indeed, and he was master of the Queen's music at the time, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So anyway, but Sea Eagle itself is a stunning. It must have been fantastic to feel that a discussion, Fire's rehearsal, kind of yielded one of contemporary horn repertoire's really most important pieces, and as you say, the Munich competition, taking it on is amazing. And
of course, there are a lot of pieces written for the horn, and sadly, a lot of them fall by the wayside. But I mean, this piece is really something else, I think, and it's terribly challenging to play. It doesn't become any easier with years. But every time I play it, I find something new, and that's the beauty of it. And and it works beautifully in. You can imagine putting it on in any sort of venue. Actually, I do remember when it was finally finished, Max handed me the score and said, I just thought you might be able to kind of fit this into the middle of a recital somewhere, which is a charming idea. But it says, because it's so demanding, it's a bit difficult to think of how to follow it, just in terms of sort of stamina. But
No, absolutely. And that was, Stamina, that was a stunning performance, and a really challenging program. And so, listen, Richard, thank you so much once again for producing such an amazing performance, and for recording it and sending it up to us from London, and for your conversation now. We can look forward to more performances from you during the next 4 days. Saturday morning at 10 a.m. we have our Promenade concert, and you've recorded something for that. And also on a Saturday evening, we're going to be having a conversation about Philip Cashian's piece, the Scenes from the Life of Viscount Medado, of which we're going to be playing an earlier version that you recorded for horn and piano. And we're going to be talking both with Richard and with Phil Cashian about the piece on Saturday evening. So, Richard, thanks once again for a stunning start to the festival. Absolutely amazing. That's brilliant. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Our next performance is at 3:00 this afternoon, which will be a film of an opera by Samuel Bordoli called The Narcissistic Fish. So we look forward to seeing you at 3:00 this afternoon. Thanks once again, Richard, and thank you, everyone, for listening.